What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms. Today's guest is a golf expert who strives for constant improvement on a mission to help athletes own their swing. He has over 15 years of experience as a professional golfer, having played in tour events worldwide. He's the host of his podcast, Pivot the Path. He's the founder of Swing with two S's on the front. Their inaugural location is on top of Grand Central Station in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Young. Welcome, Scott.
Good morning, Dan. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I just actually interviewed another podcaster. I haven't interviewed that many podcasters, but I want everyone to know that's not why I'm interviewing Scott. Scott and I are neighbors. We have multiple children, and some of them overlap in grades.
Not together.
Oh, yeah, not together. But that'd be cool. I'd be a dad with you, Scott.
Thanks, D.
I think we'd be good parents together.
Yes, I think we're very calming. They would have very good taste in music, sir.
Yes, they would have incredible taste in music. I think that well, you know what they already do? We already have pretty great kids, but let's not talk about them. Let's shine the light on you. But I want everyone to know, so I'm not a golfer. I play golf. I kind of retired when my oldest child, Vivian, was born. About 17 years ago, and I've probably played 2 or 3 times since then.
I am trying to change that, I might add.
Yes. Like I said, I retired from golf 17 years ago, but I was very intrigued with Scott as a fellow entrepreneur because what he's built to help people own their swings is really experiential. And while it is fitness focused and sport focused, there's a level of hospitality that you experience when you walk in there that I think is really cool. And it's also an interesting balance of hospitality and making people feel comfortable, but also coaching and training where you got to get people to get uncomfortable and try new things. And trying to balance all that is really challenging. So I thought we could all learn from how you do that balancing act. But before we get into it, Scott, what does hospitality mean to you? You've traveled all over the world on tour. You've stayed everywhere. You've traveled as a family a ton. You host people, you're from Australia where they have a whole different kind of
very much
idea of hospitality, but what does it mean to you?
I think the essence of defining hospitality to me is sharing what I believe to be inviting and calm, and above all for swing is educational. So whether it's kids or whether it's our facility, to me, defining hospitality is the pure essence of sharing what I believe to be hospitable. And that's been shaped by the school I went to, my parents, how Rosemary and I invite our kids in our group of community in here. And then specifically, Swing is an indoor, high-performance indoor golf facility where we're designed to improve golfers and to get them to understand how they move and how that facilitates better golf. You know, our hospitality starts with education, but it's also having a welcoming point of view. So when you walked in, what was that, about 6 months ago, and I don't believe you'd picked up a club for 10 years, I've kind of understand who you are. I can't come at you like a freight train from a biomechanics and a math and a golf point of view. So to me, hospitality is reading the room and saying, well, I'd like to get this customer to where I want them to be, but I've got to come in at their level of, experience or enjoyment, or is he a golfer or is she a golfer?
So how do you balance that with certain people? Because I would say that your approach to golf and that idea of biometrics and the science side of it is it's unorthodox in the view of many golfers, right?
There's not a facility like Swing anywhere in the country. There's a couple that have indoor movement components, without a doubt. But I believe, I spent 10 years on tour traveling the globe playing and saw all these facilities, outdoor, indoor, whether it's a fancy Shinnecock or Augusta, where I've been, down to you and I will go play our local muni this summer down at Fairfield. That's a little par 3 that's absolutely magnificent. So I've experienced the Augustas of the world to the Shinnecocks of the world to you and I will get out with Vivian and Izzy and Theo, and we'll go play a little par 3. So it's what I try to do is read who you are very quickly. That's probably my biggest skill. And getting back to what is defining hospitality, hospitality through the swing metric is reading you very, very quickly and working out at what level of intensity I've got to come at. And then I try to bring you up to my level of, look, we are a biomechanics, math-based. Every time someone comes into swing, they leave an hour later better than they walked in. So I am fastidious on getting people to own their swing and improve, but I can't come at you at my level of intensity. So I just try to read the room of who you are and how you move. And that's pretty cool.
Okay. And then someone like me, I'm very curious and open-minded. I like to try a lot of different things. And it was uncomfortable in the way that you had me approach what I was learning, the new or whatever, however horrible my swing was. You saw a couple things and you're like, okay, try this. And I can try that. But then there's also, because I just know I haven't done it for very long. But then there's other people who've golfed their entire life. And then maybe they work near you, near Grand Central. And then they come down and like, oh, I want to do this. But they have their own set way.
Absolutely.
How do you handle that? I'm curious how you handle that type of golfer. And forget golf. It's just like that. How do you, and you can apply this to anything in life, but it's someone who is really set in their ways. They're coming to you because they know they need some help, right? So that's step one, is recognizing you need help. But then they may not agree with your methodologies, and you're just like, it can become like, I don't know, oil and water, or there's some friction there. Like, how do you approach those, and what's a good outcome, and then what's the one where it's like, okay, we're just not, this methodology is just not a fit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to answer that very simply, I believe golf is super simple, and I'm going to enjoy. Look, we have tour players coming in. We've got PGA members. I've got golfers who have never played golf before. I'm going to try and grab someone who hasn't played golf before, and I'm going to be able to improve them far quicker than someone with habits. So again, what I've learned to do with swing is take me out of swing and basically apply math. So where we're a little different, and some would say quirky, but I think extremely precise, is that every ball flight, getting a little nerdy here for a second, every ball flight has a math equation. So what I thought when I was building swing was, well, rather than trying to present Scott's philosophy, if I can explain, hey, Dan, if you want to hit a high draw, that's a ball that curves as a right-hander from right to left. Your club has to do certain things. Therefore, your body, we believe that your body is the root of all golf swings. So we start with the body. So if I can explain and take me out of it and say, well, here's the math of hitting a ball flight. It's really simple. It is literally as black and white as 1 + 1 = 2 or 3, depends on how good your math is. So if we can take out a philosophy, swing is a math-based learning system. So it's basically, here's the ball flight you want to hit. I look at how your body moves, and then the customer can't really refute that because it's all math. And so I try to take out a philosophy and say, hey, we just need your body to be in positions A, B, and C to hit a ball flight. Can you move in those positions? That's the first thing we do. So anyone who walks in, we do a screen. We don't touch a golf swing till we look at every part of your body. It takes about 30 minutes. And then we'll tell you exactly how you'll swing before you even pull a club out of the bag. That's the cool thing about what we do. So it's very basic. Some see it as technical. So to answer your question, it's less about battling someone, because that would be a philosophy-based thing. It's more about, here's the math of the ball flight. I can get anyone to hit whatever shot they want in about 5 minutes. It's super simple. They've just got to unlearn a lot of, for the good golfers and the people who've had a lot of experience, they've got to unlearn a little bit about what they believe. So YouTube and Instagram is making golf very difficult to be improving because there's so many philosophies, and swing is a math-based learning system based around biomechanics, movement.
Well, that's also, I guess the increase of all these different methodologies, and it could be in golf, it's actually in anything.
I think it's in anything.
It's in anything, right? I always say there's this alphabet soup of ideas out there. And then, so it's not so much, and all these tools can be great, but it's not so much the tool as it is the practice, right? So it's like, okay, pick one, go along that path and see how it goes. And one thing that I was intrigued by is, golf historically has been outside on big courses. It's a lot of maintenance and people, and it's an incredibly capital intensive business to run from a golf, just from acquiring the land and maintaining it, and all the other things that go into running a golf course. But I've seen this rise of golf simulator spaces, and they can be from in a bar, in a hotel, yours, which is like a physical training area. So it's not just golf, you're also doing core work and Pilates like things. And so there's like a whole spectrum of this, but I am seeing this whole golf world from true golf to, I don't even know all the other ones, but where it's truly like smashing hospitality and golf together in these like new and inventive ways. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing out there? Because I've done some things, it's kind of fun, but you're not like getting better. You're just going out and having some beers and having fun.
Yeah, we're not a bar with golf simulators. We're a training ground. Our studio is functional movement. We do over 230 physical therapy sessions a month. Our business is based on getting you to move better. So for all those hoteliers out there who are looking to engage with their customer better, in terms of defining hospitality, most people with a hotel are traveling. That's conservatively 4 to 5 hours of sitting. And so whilst 95% of the indoor golf business is all bar and entertainment based, we are actually movement based. So we believe, and we've proven, I still lecture down at NYU Hospital on biomechanics, and we believe that how you move defines how you swing a golf club. And so for those who are coming to a hotel, as you said, or a bar based golf simulator business, their movement's going to inhibit how they swing. So firstly, the explosion of indoor golf is phenomenal. It's reaching different people from different platforms, and it's getting people to engage with our game who otherwise wouldn't. So it gives you an experience of golf that might be a 45-minute smash and grab. At least that customer gets to engage in our golf's phenomenal. It's the most beautiful game, both in terms of enjoyment, but also to get to know someone. So if I'm building a new hotel and I've got 6 vendors from which I can draw upon to fit out that hotel, hey, grab Dan Ryan and go spend 3 hours with him. You'll get to know who you are, how you handle pressure, how you handle defeat, how you handle success, all within 2 hours. So that was traditionally what we call a green grass experience, golf course. But now you can do that at a bar. Now, you're not going to improve when you go to these bars and facilities that have taps. I mean, we have physical therapy, weights, squats, and we understand what the pelvis does rather than having 10 beers on tap. So it's just our take, and which is getting back to your question, define hospitality. It's the essence of what I know, which is to improve your golf game, we've got to look at your biomechanics, which is really simple. So we are an improvement-based business, but it's still hospitality. We're just looking for the customers who really want to improve their golf rather than experience golf. But there's room for everyone. Like if I can get 50 people to go to a Topgolf, I know of those 50 people, there's going to be 15 of them who hate sucking. And so they give me a call and say, hey, when I go and have a couple of drinks with mates on a Friday night, I actually want to improve. I don't want to wake up on Saturday morning with a lower back pain. And that's why they come to us. So we've got a very niche market of improvement. And I'm really yet to meet someone who doesn't want to improve. I mean, when you came in with your mate, what was your mate's name? He was
David.
Phenomenal. Dave came from the outside, which means he used his chest. And he said, oh, I come from the inside. And I'm like, no, you've got to get on some decent tech. And then we put him through his paces in 6 minutes. He was hitting a high bomb draw and he was blown away.
Yeah, and he's a really good golfer. David Kennedy.
Dave, yeah. Dave, if you
listen to this one. Everybody loves David Kennedy.
So when David thought he was hitting a high bomb draw from the inside, because we have world-class tech houses camera-based, he was blown away. that he actually wasn't swinging the way he thought he was. And in a couple of minutes, we had him ripping it and it was fantastic. And then you come along, who's hardly played golf, and you've got a very good motion. And so you're a little knock-kneed like me. Anyone who's knock-kneed has generally fantastic hip mobility, internal rotation. And you ripped it. And it was quite an interesting, dichotomy of here's a guy who doesn't play a lot of golf but can move, whereas Dave does play a lot of golf and we just had to fix his movement a little bit.
I want to go back to that idea. You said something about people who are staying in a hotel usually have come off a flight and did 4 or 5 hours of sitting. And I want to tie that back to, I think I went to you once, and before I even started golfing there, I guess it was like, you said, get on that bike.
Yeah, we're going to get you moving.
Yeah, just like get on the bike for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes and just get it going, get the blood flowing, get the muscles loosened. And I'm wondering, like, if you were to take that idea of movement and people who are traveling or road warriors, and then whatever segment that of as golfers and who want to improve, it would be interesting to, like, from a wellness perspective in a hotel, you check in, they know you like golf, and it's like, oh, we have a golf simulator in our meeting room that never gets used or whatever, and go on a bike. And it does seem like a good way to, like, get out of your head, breathe, get blood going, and doing something that you're fun. Have you seen that anywhere in the hotel space?
There is a little bit of that. So we're on top of Grand Central Station. We've got the Intercontinental, the Smith Hotel. I've got 16, actually I counted them for you yesterday. I have 16 hotels within 1.5 blocks of me. Right? For those customers at those hotels, conservatively, they're going to be traveling to get to that hotel at least 4 hours, if not 8 to 10. I've teamed up with BA, British Airways. I'm trying to get into the BA community because we've got pilots and hostesses and hostess men who travel for 17 hours, who then come to the hotel. Remember, JFK is an hour, as you know, an hour and a half from the city, thereabouts. And so some of the hotels have golf simulators, but I think that's a fundamental flaw because said person who walks up from a 15-hour flight, for example, let's go 6 to 15 hours, they're going to be super tight and they don't know how to actually improve their mobility or stability. And that's where the swing, and this is what we want to do. We want to get 50 to 60 boxes of swing around the world. And although they may be all improvement boxes, I think there's a lovely segue into the hotel community to say, people don't want to hit golf balls. They want to make sure that they don't wake up with back pain the next day. And that's where our expertise comes into it and says, here's a safe manner in which to move. Everyone's different. You and I are very different in how we move. And what the swing platform does is it explains the individual how they move, what they have to do to get them to, in our case, swing a golf club. But look, I'm still a tennis nut. It doesn't matter whether you're skiing or surfing or playing tennis or softball with your kid. Swing is the essence of biomechanics. So what we do is explain how the individual moves, what that individual does to be safe, and obviously improve motion. So I think the hotels, and you've seen golf simulators pop up in airports, it's a flawed system because that person just has a whack without understanding what they've got to do. It's 3 or 4 minutes of warm up. But if you warm up your body, so how David warms up and how you and I warm up will generally be different because we're built differently. And that's our little niche, is to explain to the individual how to do that.
Yeah, David's pretty skinny and weak, right?
Dave, we got to get you back in. We got to get where's a little more meat on the bone.
But I do think that it's an interesting idea in the from just a movement perspective, because we could all benefit from more movement as just a society and people, and
absolutely,
especially the road warrior class. And okay, yeah, you could do yoga, you could go to the gym and do your own workout and all that, but it would be an interesting way and a fun way to mix it up. And then you are in a great location with a lot of hotels around there. Have you approached general managers or I don't know, concierges at those hotels and brought it up? And what's been the response, or is that like a whole other?
That's a whole different beast we haven't tackled a whole lot. Ironically, they're reaching out to us. The issue lies that we're so busy now with our members. So we're a member-based business model. We're about 400 members. We've signed for 1,800 square feet next to us. We're taking over a cafe. So The issue becomes with so many hotels near us, we've had about 7 concierge reach out and say, hey, we want to get to swing, but unfortunately, there's no structure in place. So I've got to do probably a little better job of providing them a structure with which their customers can come in. I think it's a no-brainer. Certainly British Airways, the airlines have reached out to us and said, hey, we want our pilots and our crew staff to be able to enjoy some downtime. They're in and out in about 14 hours, so that makes it a little tough. They've got to sleep, eat, get some washing done and hit the road again. But it's something that I'd like to explore because I've got Wimbledon tennis pros coming to see me. We've got NHL hockey play. We've got a vast majority of golfers, and I've got people who've never played golf before and who want to get into it to get some deals done on the golf course. Most people don't understand who they are. So the essence of swing is to understand who that person is, to get them to improve their movement, which ties back to playing better golf. And so if we let that hotelier come in and just do a 1 hour smash and grab, it starts to compete with the improvement. My essence of swing is that every single person who walks through our door leaves a better golfer or a better mover. And so for that hotelier who's just checked in and wants to clear their head, they just want to walk in and smash 10 balls and walk out. It now contradicts our brand a little bit. So we're just trying to work out how that looks. We need them for more than 40 minutes. That's the point.
I forgot that I knew you were members based, but I actually forgot. But I'm seeing that as a really huge trend right now in hospitality, these members clubs. From obviously there's always been the fitness clubs or members, but just social clubs. Was that a choice to be members club? Like what's the business decision on being members club versus open? Because if you were just an open, come in and smash, or like get a package of 10 lessons, it might be easier to fit in those transient guests at the hotels. What was your decision on like trying to go members route versus non?
To be honest, it gets back to your original question, define hospitality. Hospitality to me is sharing the secrets that I've learned being a PGA member for 26 years, which is, hey, golf is a very simple game taught, unfortunately, by the platform very poorly. And so golf pros teach a philosophy and we teach, hey, golf is math and geometry. And so if you have a customer of a golf experience walking in who just whacks away, I can't achieve my goal. Again, get back to defining hospitality, not trying to piss in your pocket here, but it's so, when you reached out to me, I was so pumped to do this. We believe everyone can improve, right? Unfortunately, there's no structure for which people can really improve their movement and specifically golf. And so the membership entrepreneur decision was, well, we've got a set of skills that we know is unique. That is, very quickly I can work out, subconsciously who someone is. What do they want? When Dan Ryan walks in, does he want to clear his head? Has he had a tough week at work? Does he just want to hit drivers as hard as he can to alleviate some pain? Or does he actually want to get better? So we try to grab you when you walk through the front door, read you quickly, psychologically, and go, well, we'll give you a bit of a way to blow off steam, but ultimately I'm going to infuse that with improvement. So that's very difficult when you open that door, like say a 5-iron, which is a business model of golf. I think they've got 20 odd facilities around the world. They're owned by Callaway. And unfortunately, they can't control their customer experience because it's largely a walk-in model. There is a little bit of a membership depending on location. And so my wife and I, who's my business partner, decided to say, well, okay, let's control the narrative a little bit and say, ultimately, Dan Ryan doesn't want to have back pain. Ultimately, Dan Ryan would love to go out with Dave and play 9 holes of golf and talk shop, and he doesn't want to suck. So that's why we led to the membership-based business model. Ultimately, I spent 7 years on crutches as a kid, and I was in a wheelchair because I'm hypermobile and I dislocate my joints. And so I've had to work hard to get my body at 50 under control, and it's fitter at 50 than it was at 30 because we've got structure of movement. And so to pass on, again, defining hospitality, to pass on that essence of, all right, what are you trying to share with the community? we share improvement. That's what we do. And so we tailor improvement, whether it's golf improvement, whether it's mental improvement, do a ton of what we call pre-shot routine work. And ultimately, if you can control how you enjoy yourself and control the environment, people have a better experience, I think, than just a walk-in.
I think it's also like paying a membership fee or membership dues. It also shows a higher level of commitment as well. It's like you got skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
As someone who's paying the membership fee, but also as an entrepreneur and business owner, I think that the membership business model is really awesome, because then you have some recurring revenue that you can help plan around, right? It kind of like, it totally smooths out the volatility of everything.
Skin in the game is very important. So our business and our belief is you got to have skin in the game. You've got to be committed. Our job is to say, hey, give us a little bit and we'll move mountains for you. But if you don't take a step in our direction of being committed to improving, it's not going to work, certainly in our game in golf. But the whole community is what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a community at Swing where the like-mindedness, talent's irrelevant. Couldn't care if you absolutely suck and can't get the ball in the air. We'll fix that. That's easy. But you've got to have a like-minded community to improve. So we had, and I'm not sure whether it was you, your lovely, lovely partner, or it was Rosie or myself, but we got all our kids in last year over the summer. We had 12, 14-year-olds, and they had the best week. They came in every day. So we had complete non-beginners. And I remember there was one young girl who remained nameless who said, I'm not sporty, I don't play a ton of sport. And she actually improved the best. And so that essence of improvement, that's community, and that has to come with membership. That has to come with commitment.
Yeah, that just from an experience, that was so awesome. Like, we live up in Connecticut, and every morning they would get on the train, all of them, and go down to Grand Central and walk around the corner and go in. And yeah, that was cool. We got to do that again.
Yeah, that was cool.
So you mentioned you were on the tour for 26 years.
On the tour for 10 years, yep.
Oh, okay. You've been a PGA member for 26 years.
Yeah. I was on the road for about 9.5 years straight, like literally left Sydney. Actually, I was an idiot. I left Sydney just before the Olympics started. Like, what was I thinking? So I missed all the Olympics because I was on the road playing. Basically had a surfboard, set of golf clubs and a suitcase, and went see what this big old world's about. I think it was cool.
What an incredible way to see the world. And for those 10 years, I mean, you must have some of the most incredible stories and experiences, but on 10 years as a professional athlete on the road, you must have all different experiences of hospitality. Is there any one, but you also probably, like, maybe, there's so many of you that land in one place for one tournament. So some people might get the better experience, or like, how do they manage that? Does everyone get the same experience, or are some people sleeping out in their car in a broom closet?
I have had my fair share of, at the very start, sleeping in the car because I missed a cut. So basically, quick synopsis without getting boring: 144 peg it up in a tournament generally. Augusta, which is coming on the start of April, actually next week, depending on where this is. That's actually a smaller field of about 80, 85. But 144 peg it up. And then that field is cut to top 60 plus ties. It's basically cut in half. So unless you're in the top half of the tournament leaderboard, you're actually not getting paid. And so the hospitality I started to draw upon, we stayed with families because of a golf course hosting a golf tournament. There's a lot of that community that actually want to engage with the tour pros. So I stayed for the best part of, so I traveled around Australia for about 4 years. Then I went to Asia. Then I did Canada and North America here. I traveled the US for about 5 years straight. And as you know, travel is brutal. I mean, it is brutal. You actually don't see the town you visit. You fly or drive in, you go to the golf course, you go to your accommodation, whether it's hotel. I started what we call billeting. So you'd send an email out to the golf course and say, hey, Dan, we're up at, this town. You're a member of the course. Do you want to billet host a tour player? And so you actually stay with them and get to know them. And it's just lovely. And I'm a laid back kind of guy. So I've got thousands of stories, both good and bad. It's not always good. whereupon you actually are so blessed to be invited into someone's house and they let you in. Like, it's, here's the key, dude, knock yourself out. And you get to know someone. And so I wouldn't say I saw a lot of the town, whether it's LA or Chicago or, Chattanooga, Tennessee, or whatever it is, but I got to know people. And so I've learned, whether it was the school I went to, which was like a military boys' school in Sydney, to being on the road for 10 years, I've had an influence and an infusion of just hospitality, and you start to shape, and everything's gone into swing. So I've kind of, I've got my father-in-law who lives with us. He was in Vietnam and he's got an old Australian digger hat where he was pissed one night being in the US Navy in King's Cross, where he swapped hats with an Australian digger. I've got that on top of one of my columns. To Ken Miles, who's the guy from Ford vs. Ferrari, I've got a helmet of his. I've got a set of Arnold Palmer's clubs. So there's been a lot that's gone into swing, which gets back to, I'm trying to invite people to what I believe is the essence of being cool, or not as cool as you, Dan Ryan, but trying to be cool, trying to mold a bit of math and biomechanics and improvement into what I think. We always play country music. Like, I love my Chris Stapleton. He's a nice vibe to hit some balls to. So there's been a lot that's gone into building swing. I built it myself, which has been pretty cool.
Okay, so then with all those stories and your whole experience and starting swing and kind of being an evangelist for what I'm hearing is like an unorthodox way of teaching and approaching golf with math and geometry. You also started a podcast, and what was the impetus behind that? Like, I've listened to a bunch of the episodes and I feel like when I listen to them, I went out to go hit some balls last summer, and I was listening to the podcast before. I feel like it made me better because it got my head into the space. And you're kind of just telling stories about, playing in Ibiza or Spain, or I don't even know where you were, where it was, but like, you just have so many stories you can tell. But what was the main impetus for starting that?
So that was to get on social media. We actually looked at what you were doing and we listened to yours and thought, damn, that's a damn good podcast, because yours is high and tight on what is hospitality. And I said to Rosemary, or Rosie said, I'm the golf and the math and the biomechanics brain, and Rosemary's growing the brand. And we were a new brand. And so Rosemary said, why don't we start to jump on social media and start to elevate our brand experience? And we looked around at podcasts and social media, and we found that most had most of the tone of people's podcast was emotional and their opinion. And our podcast hopefully sticks to math and keeps it very honest. And I try to be very honest. So when we film me swinging, I don't have a practice swing, it's straight off. Or if we talk about occurrences, they're hopefully rooted in being honest and high and tight on the math and physics, rather than having an emotion or an opinion. And so we wanted just to be honest and say, hey, golf is a fundamentally simple game. I'm a tennis nut. If the ball's coming to me on a tennis court, I've got to move, adapt, and react. Whereas because the ball's stationary, it's simple, but it's been convoluted over the last 30 years to make this juggernaut of, I don't have enough time to play, I'm not good enough to play. And we've got beginners who've been playing for 6 months who break 80 because swing is a structure, and the podcast was a way to present a different approach of the golf swing. We try to keep it pretty honest.
So when I listened, I did hear some of the math, but I was more struck by a lot of the stories you would bring about being in a certain location or just funny things that happened as you're going. And you must have like an incredible catalog to pull from. So I'm saying that because I don't want people to think like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to the Pythagorean theorem being talked about with a golf club. Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. Please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info.
The podcast is all these anecdotes. I remember pre-queuing for the Australian Open at a place called Capera in Queensland. And so I flew in, grabbed the hire car and drove to Capera, and the range was closed. So they had us drive to a nearby golf course to use their range to warm up. So I pull in, and it was off the beaten track in Queensland. And so as I reversed the car into the parking spot, I went over a tree stump and I ripped the bumper half off the car. So here I am back in Australia for the first time in over a year. I'm literally an hour after I land, and all of a sudden I've got a brand new hire car with a bumper ripped off, and I've got to go pre-queue and earn a living. And so the podcast was an opportunity to talk about when people say, I've got to go play golf with my boss, or I'm on the golf team, how do I perform? We try to say, hey, pump the brakes, learn to control the process, and here's some anecdotes that, I've bounced along the way. And we have guests on, and we have mates of mine who are on tour, and one of my mates who is on the podcast is caddying for a guy on PGA Tour right now. And so we've got all these beautiful stories about anecdotal what happens when, or what you do how, and it's pretty cool.
So how long have you had it now?
We're up to episode 70. So we've been going about a year and a bit.
A year and a bit. Okay, cool. So one of the questions, and this, I was thinking about this the other day when I was recording with someone. When you start, you don't really know who's listening or who the audience is or who you're connecting to. And I think about maybe 8 or 9 months in, I was like, oh, there's data here, or like I can see who I'm talking to. And who I was talking to and the questions that I would ask, like, I know I'm talking to you right now, but then I'm asking questions that I know my audience might be interested in, and then I knew I could narrow it down to like who the audience is. Sure. From the time that you started to now, did who you think was listening change from what you perceived when you first started to like now that are you talking to a different audience?
Great question. I approached it a little differently. I thought there was an opportunity to talk to the golf. So we're golf community first and foremost. Mm-hmm. We'd love to branch into a little bit of an entrepreneur community because we believe the story of Swing. We signed the lease pre-COVID. I built it largely myself. During COVID, we got shut down. We launched a whole new brand during COVID. So we'd love to get into the entrepreneur. Hey, this is how I did it. But our main school is our golfers, without a doubt. We know that the conversation we have on the podcast is very factual. And I don't mean that in a nerdy way. I just mean that the golf community, unfortunately, the powers that be, the PGA Tour, Augusta National, they're very monopolistic in how they control the entire narrative. And we've spent 4.5 years developing our own golf clubs, which are being made here in Connecticut. They're the only US golf club, I believe, currently.
Oh, so you don't have to deal with tariffs.
So yes, as all these tariffs come out, we are making them about half an hour up the road, and they're being machined and from forged steel here. So we can beat to the tune of our drum, and we're not destined by. When Rory wins, everyone pats him on the back, and we take a step back and go, well, he might have won, but he's missed X, Y, and Z from a factual point of view. It's going to be interesting when he gets to the majors. So we're just trying to keep it very factual, and that has brought us to an audience that likes the honest manner in which the pivot, the path is.
Okay, as you're talking about, I'm not like a huge golf. Like I know Tiger Woods. I've heard of Rory McIlroy, Nicklaus, all the big names I know. But I was at a conference once. I go to a lot of conferences, but I learn a lot at them. And then there was this one guy I was talking about, and it goes back to your idea of continual improvement. Your customer is someone who wants to improve continually and believes in that education, right?
Absolutely.
So there was this slide that had Tiger Woods, and it was talking about all of his achievements early in his pro career, but he won this, won that. He may have won a Masters. He was like on par or on track to beat Jack Nicholson as like the best golfer of all time. And he went through
Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicholson.
Oh, Jack Nicholson.
Although Jack Nicholson is a very good golfer.
I bet he is. He's like, he needs someone to follow him with an ashtray so he can smoke while he's golfing. Jack Nicklaus. Sorry. The bear. I knew that. The bear.
The golden bear.
So he was on track to surpass him,
Yep.
but he's like, I don't know if I can do it, even though the math shows he was going to.
Trending, yeah.
And then he redid his entire swing from the ground up. And was that a good move in your opinion or a bad move?
This is a great segue, and I love that this is not scripted. So I don't see that at all. What I see is that as an emotional individual, Tiger crashed his Cadillac and we got a peek behind what his true self was like. Right in the height of Tiger stardom, he crashed his Cadillac and his wife had learned that he'd done this, that, and the other thing. And that was the downfall of creating a barrier between the customer experience and the Tiger phenom. I think he personally, I think he's the greatest golfer that's ever played. In my opinion, he's better than Jack Nicklaus because he has so much more competition to win each week. Getting back to Jack, I've never met Jack, but he didn't have 144 peg it up in a tournament. Realistically, every time Tiger played a major, probably 80 people could have won that event. When Jack was playing majors, maybe 15 could have won it. You always have your outlier. So I believe Tiger was a better golfer. But as an individual, when he crashed his Cadillac the first time, reversed into it at his house in Florida, all of a sudden the mystique that was Tiger Woods was shattered because the truth came out. And it wasn't the fact that he was working on his golf swing. It was the fact that the one beautiful thing about our game is that it's honest. And getting back to what Swing's about is that, and the podcast, we are very honest with both how we approach our customers. I wanted to build a set of golf clubs that were honest and built in America because I could make them what we call non-offset. Don't have to get into that, but it's a very honest golf club. It provides an honest ball flight. And the podcast talks about honest occurrences. And so Tiger the roller coaster started dipping when we realized that he wasn't this perfect individual. I don't label whether things are right or wrong. That's not my opinion. I just present arguments. And so I look at Tiger and I look at his dad and I think, you built one of the greatest individual athletes of all time, probably that will ever be. But did you build a beautiful son who's respectful? And I just present ideas. I don't try to label. I never label anyone. I couldn't care if you're pink, black, blue, or green, or up and down, or I couldn't. What we do at Swing is we just say, here's a set of ideas. This is how to get you better. And we just present them in a really factual way. So Tiger's essence and his decline was more about, we understood that he was a multi-flawed character who still is. And he just happens to be the most brilliant golfer in the world. There's a difference there. And so we're getting back to Rory right now. In my opinion, the best golfer it's ever been in terms of technically, but lacks that killer instinct. Whereas Tiger, he was the essence. He was a Max Verstappen. He was a Roger Federer. He was a Djokovic. And so the podcast, we talk about that and we just keep it nice and high and tight on facts.
Earlier you said you love tennis because you're adapting and you're attacking the ball, but you're moving, right? Where golf, it's not, you didn't say this, I'm going to say it. It's 90% mental, right? Because the ball is there and all you're doing is messing with your mind about hitting that ball the right
100%.
way. And it just gets in your head.
100%.
It's very, and I'm going to bring our kids into this one. So just so people can know, because I want to give Tilly and Annabelle a shout out. I was the unofficial team photographer.
Right? Yes.
And this is where pressure and stress is actually, I think, a good thing, and it makes us better. But I was their basketball team photographer, and they were in their championship game. They were down. They brought it up. Tilly tied the game up with seconds left.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Right? And then I think Annabelle got the ball and maybe
made a layup. Absolutely.
No, she didn't make the layup, but she got fouled. Yeah. Right? So it was tied, and it was going to go into overtime, but they could have won it. And Annabelle got up there at the foul line and had 2 shots and missed both.
Yeah.
And after the game, and then they went into overtime and they wound up losing. But after the game, it was such an incredible game. And I talked to Annabelle, my daughter, and I was like, how did you feel when you were up on that line? Were you stressed? And she's like, oh my God, I was so stressed. And it was like, she said, it was just really intense. And I said, you are so lucky that you got to experience that.
Absolutely.
Waiting at that line with all that pressure, there was less than a second, or maybe, I don't know if it was 0.4 or 4 seconds left, but it was like they could have gone up and won the championship. And it's such an honor and just a rare occurrence to be in that position where you're in the arena, it's you and only you, and like you have to really focus in, and so much learning comes from that. And that's one thing, even though I don't play much golf, I think like there's an opportunity to do that on almost every single swing.
Look, I think golf, take me and what my wife and I are trying to do in the industry and the brand out of it. Golf's the quickest way to get to know yourself. It's the quickest way to get to know someone you'd like to do business with, because it's so honest. The only person, remember, to hit a golf ball from a tee where you tee it up and hit your first shot, you can mess it up about 70 yards wide and still have a good result. So the golf customer, and I think unfortunately largely because of the PGA Tour, have created an understanding or a thought process that you have to hit these perfect golf shots. You can absolutely, if you had 75 shots in a round of golf for 18 holes, you could hit 5 well and still shoot even par. But it's managing the expectations is what we do best. So we talk about pre-shot routines and mental concentration. When Tilly shot that shot and it was 2 seconds to go and Annie stole the ball, that is a learned experience, and you hope that everyone deals with that. And that's what golf is the essence of. It's understanding that pressure is a self-application. When Tiger crashed his Cadillac 15 years ago, all of a sudden we got a peek behind the curtain, and all of a sudden he had a lot more expectation because they were like, you aren't this perfect individual. And now that affected his performance. And so what we try to do is say, let's not label people right or wrong. Let's just present facts and improve them, whether it's movement facts or golf swing facts or mental facts. And so watching our girls, like watching Tilly, which you captured.
Oh, that was a good shot.
And it was a swoosh. And it was amazing that a young kid had the presence of mind to be calm, and the place went ballistic. It was so cool.
And I actually forgot about Annabelle Steele, and she was so intense.
She stopped straight.
And then she got fouled, and then she went up to the foul line. That was just amazing. And to see that they have that in them to like lock in. We all have it.
We all have it.
But unfortunately, I say we don't have the opportunity to practice that, to be put in that crucible, right? And I think we learn so much about ourselves and others in that crucible. And I think golf, like, I don't know, now I'm talking myself into playing more golf. God damn it.
I've had 8 unders and 7 unders, and I've shot 65s and 4s, but I've never played a perfect round. So the reason I at 50 is still striving, you know, I'm pretty keen for the US Open in a couple of months. I haven't done that for 5 years.
Wait, what's a perfect round?
Mentally perfect.
Okay, what's that?
Okay, so my goal in golf, and getting back to, and you know, when you said, come on this podcast, obviously we're great mates, but I was really excited because I'm trying to play a perfect round of golf, and I'm trying to instill in our community that perfection in golf is mental. It's got nothing to do with the outcome. So we are a process driven facility. And what that looks like to me is when I've got a golf shot, whether it's the first shot or the last putt of the day, I want to be absolutely perfectly committed to that shot. Now, the outcome is irrelevant. And I'm yet to play a round of golf in how long I've been playing? I've been a PGA member for 26 years. I've yet to play a round of golf where every time I strike the ball and every time I look at the ball go down the fairway or the putt, I then switch off. I've never played a perfect mental round of golf. And that's why I play.
Okay. So I like the idea that the outcome is irrelevant. So it's when you're addressing and striking and after the strike.
Yep.
But what is that like? How do you judge in a binary fashion whether you're in the perfect mindset or not?
I saw all these sports psychs, and they all said you should do this and you should do that, and Tiger's doing this and Tiger's doing that. And so I had all these sports psychs, and I read every sports psych book you can name. Golf's Not a Game of Perfect, In a Game of Tennis, In a Game of Golf, all these books. But not one book explained actually the process to control one's mind to present a perfect routine. So golf is about taking a club out, creating an idea of what the shot, I think it's all art, creating an art of what you're trying to do, understanding what the body needs to do, because the body holds the club hits the ball. The entire industry is focused on the ball, and at Swing, we're focused on the process. So I can create a perfect feel of a golf shot, like Tilly did when she did the layup, like Annie was doing when she was doing the free throws. A free throw in basketball is exactly the same as hitting a golf shot because it's a closed sport. But the gremlins get in, right? The self-doubt, the self-deprecation gets in, I haven't practiced enough, or I had a shitty night's sleep, or I can't do this because I just missed that last free throw. No. Perfection to me looks like pulling the trigger on a golf shot, putt, chip, whatever, with the absolute pure essence of that golf shot. Everyone knows how to play golf. And so perfection is playing a round of golf, pulling the trigger with pure commitment and forgetting where it goes. And then I call it wiping the slate clean. After you have a shot, wipe the slate clean, move to the next. And that's a learned skill.
After you do it, how do you know if you did it or not?
Yep. So I go after I play golf. So I'd love to be able to instill this in our customers. Most of them, getting back to your point, most of them have to want to improve. Some of them don't want this level of improvement. But after a round of golf, I quickly go on my own. I've got my scorecard. It takes me about now 3 minutes. And I can quickly backlog every golf shot I hit, and I label whether I did it successfully or not. So it's a very honest labeling of, did I commit to the shot or did I not? So if you and I went and played 9 holes with Tilly and Annie, I'm not going to do that. But if I play, so I'm going to play probably this afternoon, just go out and play 6 or 7 holes, I'll absolutely track how I mentally perform. Because the thing that most people don't realize, which is where Tiger was so good, on the last hole of the PGA Tour event, Rory missed a 5-6 footer for par. Now, next week he's playing in the Masters. That miss and that habit will recreate itself at Augusta. The chances of him winning based on his last 6 weeks, where he's missed a lot of short putts, that has momentum. And we believe, and the whole Swing brand is based around trying to create a momentum of improvement. And those little idiosyncrasies of miss and failure, you've got to accept them and, let them go out of your mind and present a game of golf where you don't have a preordained, feeling or mental negative response. I'm trying to play golf and pull the trigger on every shot as if it was my first for the day. And that's really hard. That's a learned skill.
That idea of, it's really like approaching everything you're doing with intention, right?
Correct. That's all it is.
Awesome.
It's a learned skill. And that's what our brand's based on. And that's where Tiger and Jack, Jack was amazing. 46 won his last major. And that's what I think hospitality is to us, is saying, hey, we've just got a better understanding of how you can go out and shoot even par. When you come into Swing, let us help you so that when you leave an hour of practice, you're better than when you started. Get back to the whole question you asked, whether you want it to be member-based or off the street. Off the street, that's not going to occur. And so we've found a niche to say, hey, give us an hour of your time. Don't go to the bar. Don't go and shoot pool. Don't go and throw darts around. Come and have an hour of becoming a better self. We use the golf as a vehicle, but give us an hour of your time. Let us allow us to help you, be it move better, therefore play better, but also let's talk about how to actually mentally be better. And so when that basketball shot comes up, we talk about that a lot with Tilly and Teeny. Hey, have a process and just let it go.
Yeah,
let it
totally.
Go.
Trust the process. I love it.
Process.
Scott, this has been fantastic. If people wanted to learn more about you or Swing and see if they can figure out how to go and become a better version of themselves.
Love that.
Or if anyone has questions about how this could tie into hospitality, what's the best way for them to find out more?
Fantastic. Thank you. So Scott@swing.com. Swing is SSWING, Scott@swing.com, or just swing.com is the website.
Cool. We'll put it all in the show notes. So I thank you for coming on here and speaking with me. I know we do it all the time anyway, so it's just great to share your experience with everyone.
I love it. Define hospitality. It's really opened my eyes to what it is we're trying to do.
Wonderful. And also thank you to our listeners. Without you, I wouldn't be here talking to people like Scott, and hopefully helping you become a better version of yourself by just learning from other people's experience. So if you liked it, please like, subscribe, pass it on, leave comments. It all helps with the